Well, this is the grand finale. The conference is almost over, and just, wow, we've gone fast, and I've just been treated like a king here. It's just been so much fun, especially the Whataburger evangelism. And if you've never done that with Clay and your pastor, oh my, yeah, you really need to do that. They haven't spent a dime on food. He won't let me buy anything, and yet I get to be treated like a king, all the comforts of home. Just everything you need, just loved it. Even have a deck to get my vitamin C or D. You know, it's just so private here. And then you got a nice little walkway, that cul-de-sac. You can go for walks. It's a nice little oasis. And it's even got a chin-up bar right there. So I had everything that I needed. So thank you so much. It's been a tremendous blessing to me. Couldn't ask for anything more. And this is Creation Science 107. We started Creation Science 101 in January in Minnesota, and that's what I do. I invite the kids. This is our local creation club, and we try and get them to talk. And it says, explore with open minds, not limited to theories of blind chance and random collisions of atoms. You know, let's have some diversity in thought and science. And you can see a lot of these there show up on my YouTube channel. And it's a lot of fun. This one's going to be kind of a combination between Creation Science 103. If you really want to know, how old is the Earth, biblically and scientifically, that's a really good one to go through. And then this is Creation Science 107, where we're going to take a look at what God made. We're at the park, and this is some barbecue community thing, and whenever I get a chance to put up a table, I'll do it. And then I always like to do a question of the day. And this one was, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, who thinks the chicken came first? Who thinks the egg came first? Oh, wow, you got them well trained here, Pat, or well taught. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, and then last night, somebody had mentioned that they saw some children's books. And it must have been when I was deleting videos when I was up here before the talk. Willie the Woodsman, where there's a kid and his pet dinosaur. And it's a rather clever story to get this idea across. You know, it's a realistic story, and it's clever how he does that. Really, really, really good. And then at the end, it shares the gospel. He did Chippy and Chetty Learn to Work. And it has to deal with choices people make. You know, are you going to be ready for winter or not? And so he does it well. And again, he has the gospel message at the end. So it's a way to evangelize or witness to people with babies or with kids. Here's a children's book. And then they get to read about Jesus at the end too. And so, yeah, these are available on Amazon or creationtoday.org, and or at least Willie the Woodsman is. Okay, let's dive into the creation week. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Let's stop right there. When was that? When was the beginning? You go into ICR, and it says that, how do you know it? Well, you first must employ the genealogy data given in Genesis, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, the Gospels, and elsewhere in information gleaned from Judges, 1st and 2nd Kings, Daniel, Acts, and other books must be included as well. Obviously, the job is difficult. Yeah, I guess that would be difficult, because when I saw this 20 years ago, it was like, yeah, you can add up the genealogies to Abraham real easy. And then you jump 2,000 years to Jesus, and they agree on that. And it's like, man, I was never real confident in that. And then this is Answers in Genesis. You go from Abraham to Adam, we get about 2,000 years. And most scholars would agree that Abraham lived 2,000 years BC. Okay, there's that 2,000-year jump. And this is how they do it. Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image and called his name Seth. So he was 130 when he had Seth, and Seth was 105 when he had Enos, and Enos was 90 and he begat Canaan, and you do that and you go all the way down, and you get roughly, 1,948 years from from Adam to Terah, and that's in the genealogies. That's Genesis 5 and 10, I believe. And then you have to go to some other verses, Genesis 21:5. That's Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born, so you take that number plus 100. And then Isaac was 80 years old when she bare him. The days of the pilgrimage are 130 years, okay? And so Jacob, when he went into Egypt, he was 130 years old. So it doesn't matter how old he was when he had kids. And so you add those dates to the end, 160 and 130, then you get 2,238 years. Okay, and then they were in Egypt, according to Exodus 12:40, 430 years. So you add that number to it, and now you got 2668. And then it was 480, and this is 1 Kings 6:1, 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt. In the 4th year of Solomon's reign, they started to build the temple. Okay, so you take 480 and add it to that. And then you can add up how long the kings of Judah reigned. And there's a couple of them. They only did 3 months, so I just counted that for a year. So then you add up how long they reigned, and that was 430. But you don't need to know how much Jehoiakim and Zedekiah reigned. You don't need to know those. You can throw those out, because in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, that was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, so Nebuchadnezzar shows up in secular history along with biblical history, so you can get 412 years from that. And I'll put this all at the end, or I'll put all the verses all in one thing. And so you add that there, and that's 3560. And he was 600 BC, so you add all that in there. So this is basically what I tried to explain real poorly. Creation was 0, and then 2,238 years Jacob enters Egypt, and they're 430 years in Egypt, according to Exodus 12:40 and 41. And then in 1 Kings 6:1, from the Exodus until they started building the temple was 480 years. And then you get Nebuchadnezzar. He was in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, and that would be 412 years. The key verse there is Jeremiah 25:1. And then you jump to the secular journal, and he's at 605 BC. So roughly Christ was 4165 after creation. And then we're 2024 after that. So I came up with, the beginning was 6189 years ago. Okay, and I've been, and it could be wrong, it may be wrong, likely wrong, but those are the verses I put together, and I've never seen anybody do that in 20 years of this. And this is a framework. I don't know if it's accurate. And then I happened to come across on creation.com. They did something very similar. And they came up with 6150, plus or minus 50 years, and that was 11 years ago. So their date was 6161, and my date was 6189. And the difference there is because I have Terah having Abram at 130 years, and they have Terah having Abraham at 70 years. So that's the only discrepancy pretty much between the two. And I would put my money on them. I'm not a Bible scholar. This is just a framework. Those are some of the verses that I think that, the creation was around 6,100 years ago, 6,200 years ago, based on the Bible. And also there's scientific evidence that points to that too. They did mitochondria mutations. They go back, and it's roughly 6,000 years ago was the first woman. And then they did the rate of helium going out of zircons, and they made a prediction, this is what it should be if it's 6,000 years, and this is what it should be if it's billions of years, and it was perfect on the 6,000 years. So biologically and also geology, it points to 6,000, plus the Bible points to 6,000. Okay, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. The first days. How many the first days have there been? One. And it matters. Different versions. It says the first day. You can go into blueletterbible.org and you can check out different versions. But you go into the NASB and it says one day. How many one days have there been? All of them. How many the first days have there been? One. So there's a difference there. You go into the RSV and it's one day, and you go into the American Standard and it's one day. And this is the International Version. And sometimes on this topic of which version do you use, and this happened at Moody. I was getting a tour at the Moody Church, and I pulled up the Bible, and I said, could you read Acts 8:37 to me? And I opened it up. They had an ESV, and it was like, even there, here's the NIV. Can anybody read Acts 8:37? You see how it goes to 36 and 38 right there? You see that? 37 is a footnote. It's not in the text that they're translating. It's down in the bottom. And what is it? It's not there. It goes from 36 to 38. So the version I want to use is the Bible that has all the verses. That's what I want to use. Okay, you call me crazy. And what is that? What is taken out? And Bible said, if thou believest with all thine heart, thou mayest. It basically says, what doth hinder me to be baptized? This is the requirement for baptism. And Philip said, if thou believest with all thine heart, thou mayest. And he answered and said, I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Okay, and that's the verse that they take out. And there's a lot more. There's Matthew 18:11. There's Matthew 17:21. And they're starting to put them in the newer versions now, but anyhow. And again, I was at Moody Bible Church. They were informal tour, and I asked the guy, they had ESVs, and I asked, could you read Acts 8:37? And his eyes bulged out, and I'm going to bring it up with the deacons. So whatever. So that's another side. So yeah, and then you go into the Blue Letter Bible, ESV, it's not there. Matthew 18:11, it's not there, but that's what it should say. What did they take out for Matthew 18:11? For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. It's taken out. And also 17:1, howbeit this kind goes out not but by prayer and fasting. And that's a key verse. That's what Pete Moore helps people do to help put their marriages together. Have you done everything? Well, how about you try fasting, praying and fasting. And this is a good resource for that. Dr. David Sorensen, the critical text versus the traditional text. That's on YouTube. You can check that out. And he's studied it out. I just listened to what they say. Okay, so let's jump back to the Bible. And I read this when I was in junior high, and it said all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And then all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. And all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died. It's like, people live to be 900 years old? I didn't believe it. So what did I do? It's what people are doing today. I changed the meaning of words. I changed it from years to months. So I divided everything by 12. Oh, they lived to be in their 70s. And I told my sister that. They didn't mean years, they meant months. That's what they were counting back then. And I really don't want to give an account to those words someday. So I'm trying to get everybody, no, he meant days, or he meant years. He didn't mean months. He meant years. Because if I would have just kept on doing it, Mahalalel lived 65 years and begat Jared, and Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. What's 65 divided by 12? 5. Hey, Ryan, how old are you?
5.
You going to be a daddy anytime soon? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. What? Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And if you keep on going with that, you go into Genesis 11, you got Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber, and Peleg lived 30 years and begat Reuel. I mean, divide them by 12. 2.5. These kids are in the nursery. And yet they still live to be 400, 200 years old. So there was a word for year, and there was a word for month, and he used year. Yeah, they lived to be 900 years old. And I forget who it was, Mike Riddle, I think. Somebody asked him, well, do you believe they lived to be 900 years old? And he said, yeah, don't you? And they said, no. And he said, why not? And he said, because I haven't seen it. Well, do you believe in life coming from non-life? You haven't seen that either. And so, okay, that's day one. Everyone's very good. The second day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. So the obvious question is, hey, what's a firmament? Okay? And notice he doesn't say it's good. He made the firmament. And I believe, this is my perspective, there's different views on this, but I think that there was water above the atmosphere. I think the firmament is the atmosphere. He made the land and the water and stuff. The stuff needs stuff to breathe. I think that the atmosphere is the firmament. So the earth is covered with water, and it's spinning, because you have evening and morning, a spinning earth. Because people say, well, you can't have a day without the sun. Yeah, you can. You just need a light source and a spinning earth. And so that's covered with water, and then I believe that the firmament is the atmosphere, and then above the atmosphere is a layer of water. And you do a word search on firmament, and it's rakia. It's an expanse, and it's a visible arch in the sky. And then that word is based on rakah, a primitive word to pound the earth analogy explained by hammering, inflammation, and like you hammer it out. You know, anybody ever make a chisel in shop class? You get it really hot and then you pound on it. You get it really hot and you pound on it. You get it really hot and you pound on it and you get it the shape you want. You get it really hot and then you baptize it. And it makes it hard so it can do the job it was created to do. And I wonder why that's why we're supposed to get baptized. So that we get hardened to do the job we're supposed to do. And this one was said that some people theorize, based on reports of experiments at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories, that the highly compressed water at the supercold temperature causes the hydrogen in water to become nearly metallic, transparent, crystalline material. And there's people that say it couldn't have been a vapor canopy because it would get too hot. And I talked to Carl Baugh about this, and he says they're right. You know, but if it was a crystalline material, then it works. He did some commission on that. So I think that's the perfect environment right there. And I talked to Bob Enyart about that once, and he says, is it very good to get sunburns and skin cancer from the sun? He says, no, that wouldn't be very good. And it's like, well, this would filter out those harmful rays. But anyhow, the third day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the tree yielding fruit after his kind. See, after his kind is a biological statement. After his kind. Everything produces after its kind, whose seed is in itself. That's a biological statement too. So this is God's giving us a framework for biology. Everything produces after its kind. And that's exactly what we see out there. That's exactly what we see in the fossil record. There's kinds of animals. There's not transitional animals. And this one guy, he put this tomato plant in a hyperbolic, well, what did he want? He wanted the tomato but in his office, but he didn't want to run fluorescent lights, so he ran fiber optic cable down there, and so it could, and that filtered out the UV harmful stuff from the light. And this is, he said a tomato tree grew over 30 feet high and yielded more than 1,300 ripe tomatoes. And so over a 2-year, it was in his office, it outgrew his office. He gave it pressurized carbon-14, or 2, so that's plant food. We shouldn't be trying to limit that. And it grew to be 16 feet tall. They put it in a mold and it grew to be 40 feet tall, 15,000 baseball-sized tomatoes. Baseball-sized, and it was a cherry tomato tree. And so could you imagine if the whole earth was like that, everything producing really big? And they find these air bubbles in amber, and these air bubbles have 50% more oxygen than what we have. Today we've got 21%, they find 32% back there. And so that's the perfect environment for us to live in. And then the fourth day, God says, let there be lights in the firmament in the heaven, and divide the day from the night, and let there be signs for seasons and days and years. And he made the stars also. That's my favorite verse in the Bible. He made the stars also. You know how many stars there are? How many billions of galaxies full of how many billions of stars? And God said, yeah, I did that. And every star is different. But let's move on to the story. And it was good. You know, it was good on the fourth day. And then on the fifth day, God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that has life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. So birds fly in the firmament. I think it's the atmosphere. After their kind, after their kind, after their kind. And yeah, and be fruitful and multiply. And then in the bottom there it says, and the waters in the sea, and God blessed them. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures after his kind, after his kind, after his kind. And that's again, biology. Everything's after his kind. And it does talk about him making the whales. Verse 21, and God created great whales, every living creature that moves. So the whales were created before the land animals. And so that's a contradiction if they try and believe in theistic evolution. We talked about that last hour. And Carl Baugh, he's trying to put together this hyperbaric chamber. He's got a small one, and I talked to him once, and he said, I'd heard that his piranhas grow 4 times bigger than normal. And I asked him about that at the Grace Conference, and he looked at his friend and smiled and said, at least 4 times bigger. And then last year I asked him how the piranhas, and he said they outgrew the tank. You know, what he does, he simulates the pre-flood conditions, he thinks. More oxygen, more air pressure, more magnetic field, magnetic strength, and things get big, really big. I said, what'd you do with it? And he said he gave it back to the guy who gave it to him, so now it's in a pond somewhere. That's not swimming in that thing. But I had these slides, and this says it's a 50-inch dragonfly. And it's like, well, how do I know that's 50 inch? That could be at 1 inch. There's no scale to it. And then it said this is an 18-inch cockroach. And I said, well, that could be photoshopped. And I never used these slides until I got a textbook from our 10th grade textbook. It says, giant cockroaches and dragonflies are common. So things were bigger before the flood, I would say. And this says dragonflies had wing spreads of more than 1 meter. Any motorcycle people out here? How'd you like to hit that in the teeth, huh? Ooh, that's going to leave a mark. But this is from the Mastodon Museum by St. Louis. That left skull is a beaver skull, modern. The other one is a fossil one. Okay, so the things were definitely bigger, and reptiles grow throughout their whole life. So if people are living to be 900 years old, what would reptiles grow to be if they were to be like 500 years old? It'd be huge. And then notice how the lifespans drop after the flood. That dashed line is the flood. Those lines are how big they lived, and the shorter lines are how old they were when they had kids. And something changed. Something changed. I don't think we're in the perfect environment anymore. And if you graph it out sideways, you know, you could have Noah's son being able to know Isaac and Jacob. It's possible. And above that, you could have Noah's daddy. He could be able to know, boy, he could know Jared and all that stuff. And there's a strong oral tradition there. Okay, so why do I think the lifespans got dropped? Is because we were formed after the flood. And this guy, this Shem, he lived to be 600 years old. He was formed in his mother's womb before the flood. And that's what Dr. Carl Baugh, he thinks he can make a dinosaur. There's a certain reptile in New Zealand or Australia that has the features for a dinosaur. And he said they won't, you put them in that chamber, they won't become a dinosaur, but their offspring might. Because as they're developing, they're getting all the oxygen they need. And that's not the case with after the flood. And some people said, well, we'd like to do a human experiment. And he goes, no, we're not doing a human experiment. He said if you would, that kid would be a genius, because he wouldn't have lost the brain cells during development, because there's not enough oxygen for the mom and the baby. And so it's not the perfect environment today, but it was a perfect environment before the flood. And Shem lived to be 600 years, and he outlived almost all his sons and grandsons, all the way down there. So I think there's something about getting put together in the perfect environment. And this is baby Jessica back in 1987. Anybody remember that? It was on TV the whole time. I was like, I don't care. I want to watch my TV show. I guess that's where I was. But she was in there. What happened? Baby Jessica, somebody's watching her. She's just a toddler, maybe a year or two old, and whoever's watching her, the phone rings. And you young people won't understand this at all, but she had to go into the house to answer it because the phone was on the wall. And then she came out, and baby Jessica's gone. You know, there was a rock that was over a well, and baby Jessica put one foot in, the other one went wrapped around behind her, and she stuck there for 58 hours, for 2.5 days. And they dig apart, somehow they got her out of there, like those telephone pole things, but they got her out. But her leg or her foot is black. I read 2 different accounts, either the leg or the foot, and the doctor says, we have to cut it off. And then another guy says, no, let's put her in a hyperbaric chamber. He said, a what? A hyperbaric chamber. That's more air pressure, more oxygen. They put her in there, and the foot got to be pink, the leg got to be pink, the foot got to be pink. She lost a little toe, I believe. But yeah, you can read all about that in Chicago Tribune. And then this card is actually my son's. He sent it to, and this football players use these things a lot because they go through a train wreck every Sunday, and they need to heal fast. And there's 30-some, 80-some, football players that have these things so they can heal. And again, just think if the whole world was perfect like that. And God said, let us make man in our image. This is the crown jewel of creation. And they were supposed to have dominion. And God created man in his own image. Male and female created he them. God said, you're a man or a woman. That's it. Okay, where do we get this gender stuff from? Well, it talks about it in the Talmud. They got like 8 different genders. And so it's very confusing. The Jewish people, and there was we'll just move on. Okay, our Jewish tradition identifies no fewer than 6 distinct genders. We see gender as a diversity, as a spectrum, truly rainbow of possibilities and for reflecting the image of God. So they're getting that out of the Talmud. Are they getting that out of the Bible? No. So they're adding to the Bible to get these beliefs. And then we look at some other people. So God created man in his own image, and it says to replenish the earth and have dominion. So people say replenish. What do you mean replenish? That means you have to fill it up again. That means you have to have a pre-Adamic race, which is what, I don't know if it's the gap theory, talks about. Well, replenish today means to make full or complete again. But that's not what it used to mean. You know, it used to mean, if you use the 1828 dictionary, it says to fill, to stock with numbers of abundance, to fill. Okay, that was the main meaning back then. See, meanings of words change, kind of like gay. That's changed. And they even use this verse there. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. So it's good, very good. And then, but did Adam have to worry about the T-Rex and the lions eating them? Did he have to worry about that? You know, because this is a textbook, another error, is you can tell what the animal eats by their teeth. Well, this has sharp teeth. Eats bamboo. It doesn't eat meat. Panda bear. Sharp teeth, big meat eater, right? No, it's a Japanese water deer. You know, sharp teeth, meat eater. No, it's a fruit bat. Okay, sharp teeth, again, no, it's a vegetarian monkey. Okay, so you cannot tell what they eat by what their teeth looks like. Okay, and there was actually a lion that would not eat meat its whole life. You can read about it, Little Tyke. It lived on cooked grain, raw eggs, and milk. That was it. If they put blood in the milk, he wouldn't drink it. And this is they give tours at, I think it was Hidden Valley Ranch, and they said, you know, we're trying to get it to eat meat. And a toddler or some young person said, don't you read your Bible? And he said, no. Or he says, what do you mean? And they said, Genesis 1:30, and you'll get your answer. And so he went down to Genesis 1:30, and it says, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. So everything was vegetarian before the fall. And the lioness was the best of her species he had ever viewed. It was healthy, very healthy, kind of like Daniel. He didn't eat the meat. And it was a healthy lion. And then it would be a great witnessing tool, because the lion would be there with the lambs and wouldn't eat it. He'd be in there with the cattle and wouldn't eat it. And it helped me believe in the Bible, the guy who saw that stuff. And so it made him think, too, that the lion would eat grass, eat straw like an ox. And so it can be done. They can survive on it. Okay, and God created man in his own image, and just like people, that's what we ate. I've given you every herb-bearing seed, in which upon is the face of the earth, and should be for food. And that's what the Hunzas do. They eat apricot pits. You know, anybody ever have a peach pit? Eat a peach pit? You crack it in half, and then there's a seed in there. It looks like an almond. And then you eat it. It's supposed to be poison, but what it kills is cancer cells. Cyanide and benzoate are poisons, and that's what's in there, just like apple seeds. And I've been eating them for 20 years. So if it's a poison, that's a really slow poison. And yeah. And so, again, so everything's good. And then it was not good. Not good. Good. What's not good? Well, it's not good that man should be alone. Not good. And I agree with that. The longer I live, the more I appreciate my wife, the more I appreciate someone to go through life together with. And I just love the institute of marriage that God has given us. And so then the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept and took out one of his ribs and closed up the flesh thereof. And the rib which the Lord had taken from the man made he woman, and brought her unto him. And it's just a beautiful thing. God gives good gifts, doesn't he? And therefore shall man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And did you know that your rib will grow back? This guy was in a car accident, and he hit a semi, and he needed a lot of reconstructive surgery. And it said they'd always go to his rib and take out the bone that they needed. And these operations often required using my own bone for grafting. I noticed that the plastic surgeon would keep going back to the right side of my rib cage through the same horizontal scar to get more bone. And I asked him why I hadn't run out of bone, and he looked at me blankly and then explained that He and his team took the whole rib out each time, and we leave the periosteum intact, so the rib usually just grow back again. Isn't that interesting? It's like, wow, God knows what he's doing. Okay, so what color were Adam and Eve? What do you think? Anybody have to guess? Anybody want to offer a guess? What? White, black, middle brown, whatever? I go down with middle brown, and this is a picture of Gary Parker's family. They're Cherokees, and they're always so excited when somebody has a baby because they never know what color it's going to be. So skin color does not matter in that family, and its skin color should not matter in our Christian family or in society. You know, that's such a minor detail, and they're trying to divide us into different people groups. And when I'm have to fill out something and it says, what race are you? I'll put other and I'll put human. It's like there's one race according to the Bible. We're all sinners. We all need a Savior. And that's the way it is. And I like what this football player had to say. It's not a skin problem. It's a sin problem. And this guy was a tight end for the Saints and for the Patriots. And this was during the George Floyd riots. No, not George Floyd. It's the BLM things down in St. Louis. Ferguson, this is what's happening. And he comes out and he's very articulate and he explains it very well. He says, I'm encouraged because God has solved a solution for sin, his son Jesus, and with it a transformed heart and mind. He says, the cure for Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and Eric Garner tragedies is not education or exposure, it's the gospel. You give me any problem in life, the answer is the gospel. That's how it was for me. You know, we had some serious issues and we were looking for answers, and somebody shared the gospel, and that was the answer. And so, yeah, we're all of one blood. God's no respecter of persons. He doesn't put anybody above anybody else. We all come to heaven through the cross, and that's the amazing, amazing message. And then Jesus, he refers to back to Genesis as accurate historical events. This is Mark 10:6. You know, but from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. We've seen that a lot this conference. For this cause shall man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh, so they are no more twain but one flesh. Wherefore what God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. Where did he get them? From Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. God created man in his own image, you know, made him male and female, and don't let it be broken. You know, don't let cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Okay, all right. So we'll review this real quick. What did we learn today? Day 1. Okay, the first day, there was a spinning earth covered with water, and there was a light source. Day 2, there's a firmament. I believe that was the atmosphere between the earth and a vapor canopy or a crystalline canopy. The third day, you had dry land and plants. The fourth day, you had sun, moon, stars. And the fifth day, you had the birds and the sea creatures, or the fowl of the air and the sea creatures. And the sixth day, you had land animals, Adam and Eve. And when was that? Roughly 6,000 years ago. Okay, and so let's review the conference, shall we? Thursday. And people who ask questions control the conversation. And if you can ask questions to make people think about creation, these are some that'll help. Hey, do you believe in blind chance or a creator? I ask that all the time at St. Cloud State. It's kind of silly to believe in blind chance, I think, and that's what the surveys show. And how did life begin? You know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? That's always a good one, too. And then Friday, hey, why is the moon pounded on the near side and not the far side? That's counterintuitive. Why is that? And why are Kevin Lee's predictions better than NASA's predictions? Because Kevin Lee has a biblical perspective of the past. NASA's got a blind chance perspective of the past. And then what happened Saturday? Hey, do you trust the government? It's a valid question. Good for you back there. Who paid the biggest criminal fine in U.S. history? Yeah, Pfizer. Yeah, it helps make people think. And are you financially compensated for promoting shots? Ask your doctor. Ask anybody who wants you to get a shot. Ask them that, because that should weigh into your conclusion. And then today, you know, where did whales come before or after land animals? And did people get here at the beginning or at the end of the creation? Theistic evolutionists are going to have a hard time with those. And then today, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about, yeah, we touched on dinosaurs. And when was the beginning? I would say roughly 6,000 years ago. How old is the earth? Same. And do you believe what God said? Yeah, I do. I do. I believe what God said. And so again, that winds up our conference, so thank you. We do appreciate this. Thank you, Lighthouse Baptist Church, anybody who has sponsored this or donated. You helped treat me like a king, and I am very thankful for that. And thank you, Texas, for resisting tyranny 4 years ago. We needed that. Way to lead the charge on that. And hopefully other states follow your model. Again, and this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And we go all through this to get to this question. If you died today, where would you go? And I'll let Pastor answer that.